good day to you. My name is Chelsey. I am a breast cancer survivor, and I created this channel to share my experiences through my breast cancer journey to help others in some way. So today the topic I'm going to be sharing about is my experience with hormone therapy. The two hormone therapy medications that I tried were a combination of Lupron and anastrozole and Tamoxifen. What I'm going to do today is share a comparison between the two hormone therapy options I chose, so that if you were making this choice, this can help give you some insight into what might be a better fit for you. Hormone therapy was at the end of my active treatment. So for me, I started with chemotherapy, surgery, radiation, and then hormone therapy. And when it came time to do hormone therapy, I was talking with my oncologist, and we kind of had two routes that we could have gone through. And in the end, I ended up choosing to try both. After my radiation, I chose to start with Lupron and anastrozole. As I mentioned in a different video, which I will link above and put in the description, I did try different forms of Lupron and different forms of anastrozole, but those were the two that kind of worked the best for me. But all in all, after a year on those medications, I decided it wasn't a good fit for me and I wanted to try something else. So the something else was tamoxifen. So in this video, I'm going to compare the side effects, what I noticed changing from Lupron to tamoxifen. So what I disliked about the change, what I liked about the change, and what I found was pretty much same. Lupron was the first medication that I started with. So Lupron is administered by an injection once a month. And for myself, I went into the oncology clinic and they administered it for me. I usually receive the injection in the side of my glute muscle. A little bit painful, but it happened very quickly and then it was over. Along with Lupron, I also needed to take a daily pill. As I mentioned, for me, that was anastrozole. The other thing that I needed to do, or I was recommended that I do, and I did choose to, is go in every 3 months and get an infusion of zoledronic acid at the oncology clinic as well. Tamoxifen, for me, was a daily pill, packed just like this. Once again, I took these in the morning. I'm kind of a morning person. This is when I remember to take my medications. And that is all with tamoxifen, just one. Before we get into the meat of this comparison, I do want to mention that everybody's body reacts to medications differently, and by no means am I a doctor or an oncologist. I'm simply sharing my experience with these two medications, so please take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean that you are going to have the same side effects as I did. I just hope that this provides you some insight into my experience, and maybe it will just give you a little bit of information. Let's start with the drawbacks, or the dislikes, or the negatives, or the not positive things that I noticed when I changed from Lupron to tamoxifen. So one of the first things I noticed was a change in my sleep patterns and my ability to sleep. When I was on Lupron, I had insomnia. I was up late, I got up early, and I found it really challenging to sleep. When I changed to tamoxifen, it was the opposite. At the end of the day, I just could not wait to go to sleep. When I laid down in my bed and everything was dark, I just felt so, I want to say at peace, but not really at peace. I just felt so relieved just for the day to be over, for me to be in my bed and just to be able to do nothing. In the morning, it was quite similar. In the morning, I didn't want to get up. The day was not exciting. I would rather just stay in bed, pull the covers over my head, and sleep the day away. So, I mean, depending on where you sit with sleep, you can go different ways. But for me, typically not on medication, I'm a get up and go type person. I like to enjoy the day. I like to get a lot of stuff done. So for me, having the insomnia was very frustrating. Don't get me wrong. But having that drive, that want to get up and get stuff done was a more enjoyable experience for me than wishing the day away, wanting it to be nighttime, wanting to hibernate in the darkness and not get up. So for me, that was a negative change. The second thing that stood out for me when changing to tamoxifen, the hot flashes. Now, hot flashes on Lupron were very aggressive and they came out of nowhere, and they were, yes, very, very stop you in your tracks, just hot, sweaty mess. I would say switching to tamoxifen, the severity of them decreased, which is good. But what's the right word I'm trying to think of here? The frequency of the hot flashes increased. So they weren't as strong, but they were more. And the other thing I noticed was they were brought on by different things that I would eat, like sensitivities. Different types of foods would set off the hot flashes. Drinks would set off the hot flashes. So one of the things of note for me, I used to really enjoy drinking coffee. And just something about coffee would just give me a hot flash. Anything dairy-based, be hot. And along with that, one of the things that really bothered me was what I call, it's pretty straightforward, hot hands. So just my hands would always be so hot and uncomfortable. And this was more of like a steady state thing, just flushed hot hands quite often. So for me, I said that this was a drawback or a negative, making the switch, because of the frequency of the hot flashes. Sure, they weren't as strong, but I got them way more, which was very uncomfortable. There were a few things that I didn't really notice a change. For Lupron, they were this. For tamoxifen, they were that. Pretty much the same. The first thing that I guess didn't stand out to me was the fact that both options, I was taking a pill. And that pill was a kind of daily reminder of the cancer, of trying to keep it away. And like I said, it was consistent. Both options had that reminder every single morning. The second thing that I found fairly consistent was the water retention and the weight gain and the swelling in my body. I didn't find that switching from Lupron to tamoxifen that there was an increase or decrease in my weight, or water retention, or ability to build muscle, lose fat. It was very consistent. It was like for both options, it was up after I started my hormone therapy medication. Lupron, water retention increased, weight increased, fat content increased, but between the two, similar. After starting tamoxifen, I didn't go up, I didn't go down, it was the same. And the last thing that was really similar for the two was my skin texture. So still more dry and less elasticity than before I started the medication. It was very consistent, changing from Lupron to tamoxifen. Finally, let's get to the positives, the things that I noticed improved when switching from Lupron to tamoxifen. So the first thing that I want to mention is how the aches and pains in my body were gone. That was one of the big things that was so frustrating and so life-changing about being on Lupron, was just how old I felt in my body just overnight. And from switching to tamoxifen, that was gone. I felt more able in my body. I felt more young in my body, just not having those aches and pains. So that was a definite positive. The other thing that I really liked was how I felt more like a survivor and less like someone who was fighting cancer. As I mentioned, when I was on Lupron, I needed to go to the oncology clinic to get my once a month shot, Lupron, and I need to go every 3 months to get an infusion of zoledronic acid. So when I needed to go in, just being at the clinic, where, chemotherapy was happening, having to sit down, get an IV, sit there, get the zoledronic acid, be in this space. It really was a reoccurring traumatic event that just made me feel like I was still in it. I was still fighting. I was still, just fighting, not moving forward, not in the survivorship phase, but in it. And it was traumatic. So switching to tamoxifen, just needed to pick up my medication from the pharmacy, took it at home, and I didn't need to go back to the clinic and be in that space. And so it removed me from that traumatic environment and just let me feel like, yes, I have that daily reminder. I have the daily reminder of cancer. I have the daily reminder that I'm trying to keep it away. But I don't have to put myself in that kind of space that really, really was heavy for me. So that was a positive. The other thing that I mentioned, kind of as a dislike before, but also can be seen as a positive, the hot flashes, though the frequency increased, the intensity decreased. So I wasn't absolutely like literally dripping sweat, beet red face, needing to strip down. I didn't have as many night sweats on tamoxifen. It just wasn't so fierce. Yes, I did have more frequent hot hands and little hot flashes, but I felt like they were more manageable than such a big jump in heat. So for me, that was a positive. And last, but certainly not least, as you can tell from my emotional reaction, changing from Lupron to tamoxifen lifted some of those clouds that were so heavy over my head, that were so dark, that were so suffocating. Tamoxifen was a better option for me in my mental health. I'm not going to make it seem like butterflies and roses and I was back to normal, but it was better. And anything that is slightly better makes a world of difference. So without all of the other things, the dislikes, the likes, the things that didn't change for me, making the world a little bit less gray, taking some of that heaviness off my shoulders, allowing me to feel just a little bit more, that was worth the change for me. And that's why I decided to stick with tamoxifen. So I hope this comparison was helpful for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I welcome you to subscribe to this channel as I plan to continue to share more, what I hope are helpful insights into my breast cancer journey to help you with yours, as well as where I'm at as a survivor, sharing the positive things as well as the challenging things that I'm still going through today. I wish you all the best. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.